Stand, watch the Lord.
Just a princess gone too soon.
Yes, after.
Pink flowers in a Barbie dress accompanied Jada's white casket.
Prosecutors say a grandfather admitted to a granddaughter for months.
He was in court today alongside his wife. Both were denied bond.
In the late hours of July 14th, 2023, at around 11 p.m. on July 14th, 2023, an emergency responder unit responded to a 911 call from a home in Park Forest, Illinois. About an unresponsive urgent call was from her grandfather, who shared some disturbing information with the responder. "I was beating my little granddaughter, and now she's out of it." When investigators got to the reported apartment, they discovered the most disturbing and unbelievable thing ever. The girl was lying on the couch in her nude state, in her own feces, and was unconscious. This is a very heart-wrenching story of Jade Moore. Jade Moore was born in April of 2018 to mother Kimberly Moore. She grew up in Georgia alongside her mother. Jade was described as a joyful and vibrant child. She was sassy and always made people smile around her due to her curious nature. Jade's mother, Kimberly, was described by her family as thoughtful, caring, and full of life. She had an undeniable energy, a confidence that drew people in, and a fearless attitude that made her stand out. But what truly set her apart was her welcoming spirit. She had a way of making everyone feel seen and valued. It was no surprise that men found Kimberly attractive. With her warmth and charm, she naturally caught attention, and before long, she started dating someone new. But beneath her radiant charm and magnetic presence, life was about to take an unexpected turn, one that would change everything. Kimberly met a man. For the sake of this case, we'll call him Joe. Kimberly and Joe quickly became inseparable. They spent a lot of time together, enjoying each other's company. She loved the thrill of it all. At first, everything seemed to be going so well. Kimberly eventually became pregnant with Joe's child, and as expected, the couple was overjoyed. Their love had created a new life, and they eagerly looked forward to the journey of parenthood together. It felt like the perfect chapter in their story. But as time would tell, not every love story has a happy ending. In April of 2018, Kimberly and Joe welcomed their precious baby girl Jade into the world. And it was love at first sight. She had the sweetest smile, and Kimberly couldn't help but gush over her little one. But this newfound joy wouldn't last as she had hoped. Just a few months after Jade was born, Joe started becoming distant. He gradually checked out of his fatherly duties, leaving Kim to care for Jade on her own. Over time, he became more or less absent, ultimately leaving Kimberly to navigate the challenges of single parenthood. But that didn't stop Kimberly. She embraced motherhood like it was second nature, pouring all her love into raising Jade. It was only natural for her to dedicate herself to her daughter's well-being. The two were inseparable, like two peas in a pod. That was, until something tragic happened, something that would shatter their world forever. In March 2023, Kimberly's parents, 62-year-old Clint Elwoods and his wife, 57-year-old Lisa Jones, traveled from Park Forest, Illinois to visit their daughter in Georgia. When they arrived, they immediately saw that Kimberly was struggling, just trying to get by while balancing life as a single mother. Kimberly had recently secured a job in Atlanta, a much-needed opportunity for stability. But with Jade depending on her, she couldn't just pack up and leave. Seeing their daughter's challenges, Clint and Lisa stepped in with what seemed like the perfect solution. Clint offered to take Jade back with them to Park Forest until Kimberly was settled in Atlanta. That way, Jade would be in good hands and Kimberly could focus on building a better future for them both. What seemed like a well-intentioned plan, a temporary arrangement for Jade's well-being, would soon take a devastating turn, leading to an unthinkable tragedy. Kimberly was relieved and excited. She could finally start her new job with peace of mind, knowing her daughter was safe with her grandparents. What could possibly go wrong? So, Clint, Lisa, and little Jade made the trip back to Park Forest together. To ensure everything was in order, Kimberly signed over temporary custody, granting her parents the authority to make school and medical decisions for Jade. It was supposed to be a temporary arrangement. However, this new chapter in Jade's life, filled with unfamiliar faces and places, would soon reveal challenges that no one had anticipated. Life in Forest Park was a big change for Jade. She had left behind her familiar home, friends, and community. but she adjusted quickly, embracing her new surroundings with the same curiosity and warmth that made her so special. Despite the distance, Kimberly made sure to stay connected. She called often, sometimes for hours, sharing stories about their days like best friends. It became their routine, a way for Kimberly to reassure herself that her daughter was safe and happy. For the next 3 months, everything seemed fine until the night that changed everything. On July 14, 2023, at around 11 p.m., emergency responders rushed to a home in Park Forest, Illinois, after receiving a disturbing 911 call. A 5-year-old girl was unresponsive. The call came from none other than her grandfather, Clint Elwoods, and his chilling words left responders in shock. "I was beating my little granddaughter, and now she's out of it." When emergency services arrived at the apartment, they were met with the most horrifying sight no child should be in. They found 5-year-old Jade Moore lying unconscious on the couch, in her nude state, and in her own feces, as she was unconscious. Paramedics immediately began performing CPR, desperately trying to revive her. But within moments, they realized the situation was far more critical than they had hoped. They knew time was slipping away. Knowing she needed urgent medical attention, they made the call to have Jade airlifted to Comer Children's Hospital. But the worst would end up happening. The following day, on July 15th, just before 9 a.m., after Jade was rushed to the hospital, doctors did everything they could to save her. The unthinkable happened. Jade was pronounced dead.
Just before 11 o'clock Friday night, Park Forest police say officers and paramedics responded to a home in the 300 block of Osage Street for a little girl who was unresponsive.
After about maybe 10 seconds of them being inside, the paramedics come rushing out with a little girl who appeared to be completely limp.
Police say 5-year-old Jada Moore died on Saturday morning at Comer Children's Hospital.
However, what doctors discovered next would send shockwaves through everyone involved. While trying to save Jade's life, doctors made a heartbreaking discovery. Her small body was covered in bruises, abrasions, and scars, some fresh, others in various stages of healing. It was a horrifying sight, one that raised immediate concerns about what this little girl had endured. Following protocol, an autopsy was immediately conducted by the Cook County Medical Examiner's Office, but what it revealed was far more horrifying than anyone could have imagined. Jade didn't suddenly go unconscious after just a beating, as her grandfather had said on the 911 call. Something terrifying had happened to her. Allegedly, the autopsy result revealed that Jade had suffered numerous injuries consistent with prolonged physical mistreatment. It was also determined that she had endured beatings for over 2 months, resulting in severe bruising typically seen in victims of high-impact collisions. They found an even more disturbing discovery. An internal avulsion and contusion pockets were discovered on her back, buttocks, and legs, injuries typically seen in car crash victims. That should tell you the level of beating that this 5-year-old girl had to go through to sustain these injuries. These deep tissue wounds, caused by extreme force, had led to a life-threatening condition made even more dangerous due to a child's lower blood volume. They also found she had been bleeding in the space between her brain and skull, pointing to a brain injury. This was no accident. She had been brutally harmed, and her death was ruled a homicide. The autopsy's grim findings painted a clear picture of the violence Jade had endured, leading authorities to turn their attention to those closest to her in her final days. With this horrifying revelation, officers shifted their focus to Jade's grandparents, 62-year-old Clint Elwoods and 57-year-old Lisa Jones. Determined to uncover the full extent of the abuse, investigators secured a search warrant for their home, hoping to find evidence that would reveal the true nightmare Jade had endured. When officers returned to the home, they uncovered disturbing evidence. They recovered a belt, allegedly the one used in hitting Jade, a pair of children's shorts with soiled underwear, and a notarized letter signed by Jade's mother, Kimberly Elwood, granting her parents custody for school and medical decisions.
The beating and the anger that he showed towards my daughter, I've never seen from him. I would have never sent her there. I'm all out of tears. I look at him as a monster. I don't even want to carry his last name no more.
The scene only deepened the investigators' suspicions. When the police questioned the couple, 57-year-old Lisa Jones attempted to justify the horrific abuse. She told police that Jade had a history of soiling herself and claimed that after a previous accident, Clint had warned the little girl that if it happened again, she would face punishment with a belt. Lisa's account, however, barely scratched the surface of the horrors that had taken place inside that home. On the night of July 14th, when Jade had another accident, Clint made good on his cruel warning. According to Lisa, he struck the helpless child 10 to 12 times on her buttocks with a belt. With each blow, Jade stumbled and fell to the floor, but instead of stopping, he continued. Then after the final strike, she never got back up. During their investigation, officers discovered a calendar on the refrigerator with several dates in June marked, allegedly tracking every time Jade had soiled herself. This sad discovery only detailed a picture of the household she had been living in. Both Clint Elwoods and Lisa Jones admitted to routinely beating Jade using a belt, their bare hands, or even a shoe. They revealed that the abuse had started just a month after Jade moved in with them, turning what was supposed to be a safe haven into a house of torment. Given the overwhelming evidence, officers immediately placed Clint Elwoods and Lisa Jones in handcuffs, arresting them on charges of first-degree murder in the death of Jade Moore. As they were transported to the police station, Clint muttered something in the back of the patrol car that would haunt everyone who heard it. He said, "I was a little too rough with my grandbaby."
Following the discovery, police placed both Elwoods and his wife, 57-year-old Lisa Jones, in custody. The couple say investigators had taken custody of the girl on April the 5th to give her mother, who lives in Georgia, time to improve her situation there. Prosecutors say a post-arrest confession provided by Jones indicates the beating started about a month later, apparently provoked by several instances of the girl soiling herself, each one documented on a calendar found inside the home.
When Kimberly received the devastating news about her little princess, she was beyond heartbroken. The very people she had trusted to care for Jade had instead committed an unimaginable act of cruelty. Not once during Jade's time with them had she complained of mistreatment. The tragic news shattered Kimberly. She felt betrayal. It was a nightmare she could never have imagined.
Joyce Miller is a longtime friend of Clint Elwoods who came to court today wanting to hear firsthand what happened.
It's sad. It's sad to see anyone go through a trial and tribulation, especially when it's regarding a baby.
The news of Jade's death surprised and shocked the community, leaving many in disbelief.
Very hard to see, a young life being snuffed out at such an early age, not even getting the opportunity to see kindergarten, experience kindergarten, or to be among your own peers or just little kids.
Community members, many of whom never met Jada but heard her story, came out to pay their respects.
That's what being human is about to me, is being able to connect with someone outside of yourself and just a community gathering together to support someone we don't even know. But just being able to be a voice for her, just to be a shoulder for her to cry on, just to be there for her, to support her. She's from out of town, so that's a lot. That's a lot.
Jada is described as an energetic and cheerful little girl who had a big personality and a love for every shade of pink.
She was very just an eccentric young lady, young girl or whatever. She's a beautiful person.
But what made the situation even more disturbing was a revelation from a neighbor. He claimed he had never seen a child living with the couple. He had no idea a little girl was even in the home.
That's right, Tanya and Val, and they tell me that they are horrified this morning, saying they never really saw a child at the house ever. So what allegedly unfolded over the weekend comes as a big shock.
What he did recall, however, was the presence of the couple's Rottweilers. The dogs were well known in the neighborhood, often heard barking while Clint and Lisa shouted at them. But Jade, no one had ever seen or heard her.
I'd never seen a little girl myself. It's always been them two and other adults. Never knew they had a girl inside the house. And to me, that would be kind of dangerous with those Rottweilers.
This was especially unsettling because Park Forest was a small, tight-knit community where everyone knew each other. So how was it possible that no one knew Jade was living there? Had she been deliberately hidden? These questions are left unanswered. On July 17, 2023, Clint Elwoods and Lisa Jones appeared in court for their bond hearing. However, due to the severity of the charges against them, the judge denied them bond, ensuring they would remain in custody until further court proceedings.
Now, because they are both charged with first-degree murder and are facing a life sentence, the judge today ordered both of them held Both of them held without bond. Their next court date is set for August the 2nd. Cheryl, prosecutors saying in court that the physical abuse that ultimately led to the little girl's death began at least 2.5 months ago, shortly after she moved in with them for what was supposed to be a temporary arrangement to allow her mother to improve her living situation back in Georgia.
During the hearing, another disturbing detail surfaced. This wasn't Clint's first encounter with the law. Allegedly, he had a prior conviction for robbery and carjacking, for which he had served 5 years in prison. This revelation only deepened the outrage surrounding Jade's case, leaving many questioning how someone with such a history was ever entrusted with the care of a child. On July 20th, 2023, a vigil was held in Park Forest to honor the life of 5-year-old Jade Moore.
It's been an emotional evening in South Suburban Park Forest, where a vigil is being held for a 5-year-old girl.
And Jada Moore was found dead over the weekend, an apparent victim of abuse. Her grandparents are now charged in her death. NBC5's Lexi Suter joining us live tonight with the story. Lexi?
Steph and I spoke with Jada's mother tonight, and she's just devastated. She says Jada was temporarily living with her grandfather and his wife, and her mom, Kim, had no idea Jada was in danger.
It was an emotional evening as family, friends, neighbors, and even strangers gathered to pay tribute to this baby girl whose life was tragically cut short. The community came together in prayer, offering support to Jade's grieving family with heavy hearts. Attendees lit candles outside the very home where Jade had suffered, turning their grief into a call for healing and unity. Prayers were offered for her family, and the community stood together determined to remember Jade, not for the tragedy that took her, but for the joy and innocence she brought to the world.
This time our family is just grieving. We're just grieving, and we're just here to celebrate the life of her, you know, and we're just so appreciative of you guys' help and the public just reaching out.
Community donations help pay for today's services, the flowers, and Jada's Barbie-inspired dress. Her grandfather and his partner were charged with first-degree murder earlier this month after they admitted to physically abusing Jada. They are due back in court next week. Reporting from Country Club Hills, Christine Flores, WGN News.
During the vigil, Jade's mother, Kimberly Elwoods, expressed her heartbreak, admitting she had no words for her father after what had happened. She revealed that she had planned to bring Jade back to Georgia the following month, plans that would now never come to pass.
That man was a stand-up guy, and he's really a monster. Him and his wife.
Now neighbors, Park Forest residents, and people who didn't even know Jada are joining together, praying for her family and honoring the young girl.
So today we just celebrate life, a life gone too soon.
Lighting candles outside the home where Jada was hurt and calling for community and healing as this quiet block copes with tragedy.
I appreciate every single person who has come out for my daughter, every single prayer, every donation, anything that is related to my daughter. I truly appreciate each and every one of you.
1, 2, 3. As we release these balloons, we thank God for the life of Jada. We thank God for you. We thank you, Lord, for your love. We thank you for this community.
And Jada's mother tells me she had temporarily turned over custody to her father because she was getting a new job. She was having some financial struggles and she simply needed help. She had planned to come back here to Park Forest to get her daughter next month so she could bring her home and enroll her in school. Jada will be laid to rest next Wednesday. We're live in Park Forest tonight. Lexi Suter, NBC5 News.
Just a heartbreaking story. Thank you, Lexi.
Despite her grief, Kimberly found comfort in the outpouring of love from the community, thanking those who had gathered to honor her daughter and stand by her in this unimaginable loss. A few weeks after Jade's tragic passing, her mother Kimberly created a GoFundMe account seeking support from family, friends, and the community to cover funeral expenses and transport Jade's body to Georgia for her final rites. As of today, the fundraiser has raised $7,820. Clint and Lisa were meant to provide Jade with a safe and stable home, offering her the care her mother couldn't at the time. Instead, they inflicted unimaginable cruelty, robbing her of the childhood she deserved. Her death has left a lasting wound, one that those who knew and loved her will carry forever. There is no doubt Jade will be deeply missed. The horrifying case of Jade Moore reveals the heartbreaking consequences of ignored warning signs and the deadly price of family violence. Let me know what you think in the comments section below.
Stand, one.
just a princess gone too soon.
Yes, after.
Pink flowers in a Barbie dress accompanied Jada's white casket.
She absolutely adores Barbie. They had a beautiful Barbie dress made for her, and it's gorgeous. She loved to dance, she loved to play, she loved to sing. She was a typical little 5-year-old.